Welcome to the all-new Hoop Nova, your ultimate source for everything basketball.
Kawhi Leonard returning to Toronto could completely reshape the Eastern Conference. The Raptors were already a competitive team, and adding a healthy, motivated Kawhi instantly pushes them into contender status. Toronto reportedly paid a massive price, sending Brandon Ingram, Gradey Dick, multiple first-round picks, and second-round selections to the Clippers. It's a risky move considering Kawhi's age and injury history, but the Raptors clearly believe their championship window is open right now. For Toronto, the biggest benefit is finally having the elite closer they lacked in recent playoff runs. Kawhi brings scoring, leadership, playoff experience, and elite defense, qualities that made him Finals MVP during the Raptors' historic 2019 championship season. Unlike many superstar scorers, Leonard impacts both ends of the floor and can take over games when it matters most. The Raptors also managed to keep important pieces like RJ Barrett and several key rotation players, giving them one of the deepest rosters in the East. With Kawhi leading the way, Toronto could realistically challenge teams like the Knicks, Cavaliers, Pacers, and Heat for conference supremacy. However, there are still questions surrounding Leonard's return. Some believe he genuinely loves Toronto and sees the city as the perfect place to finish his career. Others wonder whether the Raptors will once again have to deal with the same load management issues and special treatment that followed him throughout his Clippers tenure. For the Clippers, this trade signals the end of a disappointing era. The Kawhi Paul George experiment never delivered a championship despite enormous expectations. Los Angeles sacrificed Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and a mountain of draft picks to build a title contender, but injuries, inconsistent availability, and off-court drama prevented the team from reaching its full potential. Kawhi played in only around 60% of games during his Clippers career, and the franchise constantly adjusted its plans around his health and preferences. After years of frustration, Los Angeles finally decided to move toward the future, acquiring younger talent and valuable draft assets. Despite all the controversy, Toronto knows exactly what Kawhi can bring. He remains one of the best playoff performers in basketball when healthy. The Raptors have struggled to make deep postseason runs since his departure, winning only a single playoff series. Bringing back the player who delivered the franchise's only championship could reignite the city and restore genuine title hopes. The biggest question now is simple: can Kawhi stay healthy? If the answer is yes, Toronto instantly becomes one of the most dangerous teams in the NBA. If injuries strike again, the massive package of picks sent to Los Angeles could become one of the league's biggest gambles. Either way, Kawhi Leonard's return to Toronto would be one of the most shocking and fascinating moves in recent NBA history, potentially changing the balance of power in the Eastern Conference once again. Since Kawhi Leonard left Toronto in 2019, the Raptors have won only one playoff series and missed the postseason in 4 of the last 6 years. That's exactly why bringing him back makes so much sense. And honestly, if all it cost was Brandon Ingram, Gradey Dick, and a pile of draft picks, Toronto would gladly make that gamble. No disrespect to Brandon Ingram, because he was a huge reason the Raptors returned to the playoffs in the first place. At 28 years old and in his prime, Ingram put together another all-star caliber season and helped lead Toronto to 46 wins. But when the playoffs arrived, the same concerns that have followed him throughout his career showed up again. Against Cleveland, an injured Ingram struggled badly, averaging only 12 points per game on 32% shooting. Those numbers can sink an entire offense in a playoff series. The Raptors desperately needed someone who could create shots under pressure, control the tempo of big games, and deliver when defenses tighten up. That's where Kawhi changes everything. If Toronto had a healthy Kawhi in that Cleveland series, there's a strong argument they would have advanced to the second round. More importantly, he dramatically raises their championship ceiling. For years, the Raptors have quietly been building toward this moment. Their roster suddenly makes a lot more sense with Leonard back in the picture. The biggest strength is the front court. A healthy duo of Kawhi Leonard and Scottie Barnes could easily become the most physically imposing two-way wing pairing in the NBA. Both players can defend multiple positions, create offense, and make life miserable for opposing stars. There are still weaknesses. Though, at center, Jakob Poeltl is no longer the player he once was. He's a solid veteran, but he isn't elite in any specific area, and his massive contract makes things more complicated. Nearly $30 million per year for an aging center could become one of the bigger financial concerns on the roster. The backcourt also remains questionable. Toronto still lacks an elite guard who can both run the offense and defend opposing star guards at a high level. RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley are solid players, but they don't completely solve that problem. However, the Raptors still have something extremely valuable: youth. Players like Jacoby Walter, Jamal Sheed, and Colin Murray-Boyles give the team young talent that can continue developing around the veteran core. Toronto may not be perfect, but they are unquestionably better than they were before this trade. The reason they made this move is simple: Kawhi wanted to return. The memories of 2019 still matter. Toronto gave him the best season of his career, and he delivered the franchise's first championship. The organization also understands exactly what he brings in the postseason: elite shot creation, clutch scoring, championship experience, and all defensive level impact. Now all that's left is agreeing to a massive extension and hoping his body holds up. Because despite all the conversations about load management and the diva reputation that followed him in Los Angeles, people sometimes forget just how incredible Kawhi Leonard's career has been. He was named one of the NBA's 75 greatest players ever. He has won 2 NBA championships, 2 Finals MVP awards, 2 Defensive Player of the Year trophies, and has earned multiple All-NBA selections. If you cut his career accomplishments in half, he would still probably be a first-ballot Hall of Famer. Meanwhile, the Clippers are entering a completely different era. Surprisingly, their rebuild has been one of the most impressive front office turnarounds in recent memory. Because of previous trades involving Paul George and James Harden, Los Angeles had very few draft assets available over the next several years. They still owe valuable picks and swaps to other teams, making a traditional rebuild nearly impossible. Yet somehow, the Clippers completely transformed their roster in only a few months. They added younger talent, brought in players like Brandon Ingram and Darius Garland, and positioned themselves much better for the future. They also moved away from an aging, injury-prone core at exactly the right time. Letting Paul George walk looked questionable at first, but after his struggles in Philadelphia, that decision suddenly appears incredibly smart. Still, one question will always remain: what if Kawhi had never left Toronto? Even after losing him in 2019, the Raptors were only 1 game away from reaching the Eastern Conference Finals the following season. Imagine what they might have accomplished if Leonard had stayed. Now, years later, they finally get another opportunity, a second chance. Younger roster, a different supporting cast, and perhaps one final championship run with the player who delivered the greatest moment in franchise history. Because this offseason has already been absolutely insane. Giannis rumors, LaMelo rumors, Kawhi returning to Toronto, and now speculation surrounding LeBron James continues to grow. If the chaos keeps going, the NBA landscape could look completely different by next season.